Hey, welcome on back to the next episode of the Country and Cold Cans podcast. I'm flying solo today because my co-host is out on the road. Last I saw, I think he was in Minnesota or something like that. So today we have a couple special guests. We have George Hage and Danny Johnson of Jack the Radio. They're a band here based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're here right now in Cary, North Carolina, a little town just outside of Raleigh at the Crosstown Pub and Grill. We're gearing up. They're gearing up to play tonight there's a North Carolina State University Alumni Association event where they're unveiling Old Tuffy beer. That's pretty cool. They got you guys to play that.
Yeah, we're excited.
How did that come about?
We've worked with New Belgium in the past, but this one's near and dear to me. Having gone to NC State, alumni of NC State.
Go Pat.
Yeah, definitely going to throw the Wolfpack sign at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, very excited about it. Had no idea they were doing these types of beers. Got to talk with Chris Allen from New Belgium quite a bit in the past 2 weeks. But he did tell me they've done some beer, I think, with University in Colorado in the past. This is the first one in North Carolina.
That's awesome.
I hope they keep doing stuff like this because I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I know that beer is going to be a hit at Carter Finley this fall,
yeah.
Especially unveiling it right at the right time.
Oh, yeah,
And the
timing
beer is
was
great.
perfect.
Oh, yeah. And you guys kind of have a history around here with, like, some of the breweries and, like, coming up with a beer because I think I was seeing the other day, didn't you, you guys kind of have crafted your own beer with Trophy, right?
Yeah, we've done two different beers actually. We love craft beer, not a secret.
Yeah, I'm a huge craft beer fan too.
And I think we kind of started drinking around town kind of as the boom was growing in the area. So as we thirsted for it, they kept bringing new beers. But yeah, we've been very fortunate in the past to been able to brew a beer with Mystery Brewing out in Hillsboro a few years back with one of our records. And then being able to do a beer with Trophy Brewing, again close to home, great brewery. Love what those guys are doing.
Oh yeah. Do y'all have like a favorite brewery around here in Raleigh? Like, not to put you on the spot, but
So our home base for a long time has been Big Boss.
Okay, cool.
It's a little on the outskirts, and that ends up being where a lot of the local musicians that we're friends with end up hanging out, and especially back when they had their the tap room open upstairs. It was just a clubhouse for local musicians.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I know that I'm personally I prefer Bond Brothers down the street.
Bond
here.
Brothers
I love
is
Bond
outstanding.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Like their IPA, the local, is one of my favorite beers in town.
And they've got a tie to Trophy, I believe. I think
I think so.
One of the guys that started over there.
Yeah, Sean Marlin. Who's everywhere.
No, their stuff's outstanding. But yeah, Big Boss, we did a record release show there once. So they've been a big part of our music over the years.
Yeah, I was kind of excited to talk to you guys about that because, like I said, I'm a big craft beer fan too, and you guys have been like very involved in the community over the years, and that's one thing I wanted to kind of transition and bring up with you guys. Like, I noticed that y'all tour more regionally, so it's like I noticed that I think that y'all, I think it's cool how y'all involve yourselves in the Raleigh community. Kind of like, how's that helped you build your fan base here at home?
Yeah, I mean, definitely try to stay local with a lot of what we do, and part of that's by necessity. People have jobs, people have families, but at the same time, we're very fortunate of where we live. I mean, the city, it's amazing to look at where the city was 5 years ago or 10 years ago when the band first started, to what's happening now with the breweries, with the art scene, with restaurants, with the music venues, with the bands coming out of the area. It's very easy to want to stay local and stay regional as well. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've always talked about the fact that we try to involve our hobbies and other things that we like. We were so excited when Raleigh Denim opened up downtown, and then we were looking for a spot to record a video years back, a little stripped down thing, and one of our first thoughts was, let's go to Raleigh Denim.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Let's call it Victor and see if we can go shoot there. And same with the beer and the art scene and everything else. Just it seems silly not to invite those scenes to.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to kind of try to fuse the things together, especially right here at home.
Everyone's creating. We're just doing it in different ways.
It's crazy, like you said, how much Raleigh has changed. I moved here 7 years ago, so it's like especially like one in particular, I was wanting to bring this up, like Hillsborough Street, right by NC State.
Oh yeah.
Because I know, like in the early days, y'all played a little bit at the brewery, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like that just from the time that I moved here 7 years ago to now is vastly different.
Oh yeah.
Because by the time
crazy.
I got here, the brewery was closed.
Oh yeah.
But next door, what used to be the Comment Lounge, Kathmandu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when I was there,
like
it used to have a lot of local bands come in there, and now it's like a apartment complex.
It's unrecognizable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I kind of wonder for NC State students, because when I was going to state, the brewery used to do a thing. It was like 3 bands, $3 every Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
And I could walk there because I didn't have a car for a couple years.
Right.
Did I wonder now, like, do kids go to shows as much? Do they walk downtown? Do you like ride your bike downtown?
I can answer that. So my full-time job is I teach high school.
Oh, cool.
And I've talked to students who ended up moving on to UNC or state about that. I had a student that needed a recommendation letter from me for grad school.
Right.
And I asked them to meet me at Cup of Joe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the student's first response was, that's like way far away from. I was like, no, it's really not.
It's really not at all.
I was like, but I think they tend to hang out up on the other end of town. Even I went to UNC.
Okay. But, so we got a Tar Heel here.
but even at that, I see the parallel in Chapel Hill and Raleigh with that because when I was in college, we would walk down towards Scarborough and go to Local 506 to go to a show or go to the Cave and places like that, and they're just not doing it anymore.
No,
it's just not happening. So.
Yeah, it's like even since I've been here, I've noticed a big change because when I first got here, like I said, Hillsborough Street had a lot more bars out there. Now they've turned into shops, like the alley, the old bowling alley used to be now a Target.
Target now.
Yeah, it's like
Target.
so much has changed, and downtown, even like cover bands are not finding as much work because like. There used to be so many bars on Fayetteville Street that had live bands. They've all switched to like DJs or they've shut down, which I think is unfortunate because I love live music,
I think we're lucky with downtown Raleigh to have some bastions that, knock on wood, have no semblance of going anywhere anytime for a long time. I mean, we've got Poorhouse, we've got Lincoln, we've got Slim's, one of our favorites, King's. Like, you've got these places that are established. And, for the vast majority of shows, you got a great crowd, and some of them have built-in crowds. You got people that'll go. Adam with helping to carry on local beer, local band.
Right.
You see people consistently go there, even if they don't know the acts, which I think is awesome.
I think that actually Whiskey Foxtrot is. I was talking to you guys before we started recording. They're playing local beer, local bands coming up in about a week.
That's super cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know one thing that closed down that I hated to see was I don't know if y'all ever went to Deep South, the bar.
Yeah.
I used to play open mic there twice a week,
awesome,
and
man.
then it closed down at the beginning of this year, and that was unfortunate to see, but it's the way it goes.
It's good to see though that even as places are closing, there's new places opening like Wicked Rich and what's the other new one over there?
I know.
Was it Emerge?
It
was underneath Whiskey
Emerge
Kitchen.
absorbed a lot of the deep open mic stuff. So.
It's great to see that places are still happening.
For sure. And so I kind of wanted to get like I know that, I don't know if you are, but I know you're a comic book fan just like I am. So the origin story of Jack the Radio, like how did the band come about?
Oh man. So AC and I went to our old singer who's not playing with us anymore. We went to NC State together. I think we met like outside of a dorm. I think I was playing guitar and he came out. And then we ended up starting to send music back and forth and then started writing a record together. And then when we graduated college in 2005, I think is around the time we put out an EP that was a totally different thing. It was like electronic drums. And we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit more cost effective at the time too.
Yeah. And then we took like a 5-year hiatus. We played a couple shows, and then life happened. And then around 2009, started hanging out a lot more again and playing music. And we're like, let's build a band around this. So we got a drummer at the time, a bass player. Played in an acoustic show in Chapel Hill at a venue that's no longer there. Danny's band played that show, and at the time just started Lapsteel.
Yeah, I was actually I had called up George. It was the last show for my old band, which was a multi-instrumental duo thing.
Right.
And I was called up George. George had a band called Oso Optimo, which was outstanding. And I was called to see if they could do an acoustic show, something stripped. And he was like, I don't know, that's not really. But I've got this other band, Jack the Radio. So they ended up playing Stripped Down, opening for us. And yeah, it was my first night ever owning a lap steel.
Oh yeah.
I think I bought it the day before. And figured like, I'll try to bring it and play it on a couple tunes. And George asked me.
I mean, I was playing slide at the time, and I was like,
a lot of slide.
This guy's doing slide in a totally different way.
Yeah.
This is his band's last show. Let's see if he wants to play some music together.
Yeah, and to use a baseball reference, you're kind of like the utility player.
Totally.
How many instruments do you play?
It's enough that loading for shows it takes a while.
Yeah, it's a hassle sometimes.
But I'm the seasoning. I'm just the seasoning.
You're more than the season.
So do you guys like prefer to be on tour or in the studio? Which is more fun for y'all creatively or just like energy wise?
I mean both. Like the studio is awesome because you're like in that moment of actually creating this thing that you've been working on, and you're seeing it go from a bedroom recording to a rehearsal recording to like a full-fledged produced thing, which is awesome. But being on the road is a totally different, beautiful thing where you're seeing places you may have never been. You're meeting people you may have never ever met in your life. You're getting to experience things with some of your best friends.
You're figuring out how to play the songs that you recorded in the studio.
Exactly.
Well, especially we would talk about that because we like adding like some cool parts to songs in the studio that may not be something you can pull off live. So you figure out how. How do you incorporate this element? So
that's cool.
And then with that said, both have their cons as well. There's frustration that happens in the studio. Things don't work how you think they're going to work out. And same thing on the road. There's days where the shows you didn't feel like you played great, or
and less margin for error.
You know, there's all. I don't want to glorify everything, but But there's a lot of joy that happens in both.
I'm sure of that. Like, I know that. What is like one of personally for both of you like your favorite venues that you've gotten to play?
Oh man. I mean, my favorite show still was a bucket list. Years and years ago, we did a festival in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where we were invited to kick off the festival for like a VIP rooftop party, and it'd always been a bucket list dream to play on a rooftop of a building.
Oh yeah, kind of like the Beatles.
Dude, exactly. That's where it came from. Was that Beatles video? I think was that their last show?
I think that was the last live appearance.
You know, that was one. And then we got there. Never been to Pittsfield. Pittsfield is this like majestic mountain town. Everyone there was like into arts, creative. So we got there and like the sun was setting while we're playing. Mountains. It was like it was warm when we got there, but like perfect temperature at night. And then they had amazing chef there. I mean, that's cool like one of the most memorable once in a lifetime.
They loaded our gear for us.
That's awesome.
So that's the one thing about playing the rooftop you don't think about is the one. It was like a historic 5-story building that did not have an elevator. So 5 stories of stairs with gear was fun, but they were very helpful.
I don't know. That's a tough one because you've got like I played 930 Club. We were talking about Aquarium, in the city with Aquarium, 930 Club, and the Satellite out in Alabama, places like that. But honestly, in New York City, Lakeside Lounge, it's closed now.
Oh wow!
But Lakeside was essentially the sister bar to Slim's.
Right.
It was a Slim's was initially called Lakeside, and probably a year and a half before Lakeside closed, Jack the Radio went through and played there.
Oh, cool!
And it was a blast. It felt like Slim's. But in New York. Down in the village.
Thank you.
Probably the PBRs were just a little bit more expensive there than
not
down here.
Much more.
Not really?
No, I
I
remember they did a shot in a PBR for like
I guess
$6 or something.
I don't know if it's legal in New York, but they were doing the beer in a shot special. It was like $6. Which you can't do here in North Carolina.
Yeah. But yeah, that show was a blast. It was packed, and I don't know, like packing a little place. Just the energy is better.
Oh yeah.
We had a saxophone player sit in with us.
Oh yeah, that we had never met.
Yeah,
it was great.
They killed it.
Yeah, it was when all those little things line up onto it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So like when you're out on the road, what are some like the top band jams y'all have? Like who are the artists that y'all kind of always have in the rotation?
Man. We listen to a lot of Spoon.
Spoon, Black Keys. If I'm in control, it's gonna be Jackson Brown.
Oh yeah.
Or Bob Seger.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna play some Dawes.
Yeah, there will be Dawes.
Yeah.
I think there's stuff people can all agree upon.
There will be Dawes.
Yes, there will be Dawes. Yes.
So one thing that my co-host did, since he couldn't be here, he wanted me to make sure I asked this question because this is like his favorite question to ask is, when was the moment for both of you personally that you decided, hey, I want to play music?
Oh man. I mean, for me, it was at 13. I was offered guitar lessons that got you out of math class.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun than
and I do love math.
Trigonometry.
Yeah, and I think playing that first show, not knowing what I was doing, I think I knew like 5 chords and had written 2 songs.
Right.
That, in retrospect, were not good songs, but we played them at like our 8th grade dance, and like I think that was the moment I'm like, I'm going to do this for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or as long as I can.
Right.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I started on guitar. It was probably it's the same thing. I feel like it's usually your first performance, whatever that is. And I think mine was probably freshman year of high school. I played guitar in jazz band.
Yeah.
And we were like, the rhythm section in a jazz band in high school is generally your like ragtag group who's not actually in the band.
Yeah.
And someone has to go and recruit you, and they need a drummer, they need a bassist, and they need a guitarist. And honestly, just sitting and like playing with a drummer and a bassist for the first time and hearing everyone lock in on something, I was like,
awesome.
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's do more of that. And then and now I'm turning 38 and I haven't stopped.
Hey, I understand that completely because I know one of the things I did want to kind of bring up too, like the songwriting process for the band, because I'm fascinated by songwriting. I've been writing as a hobby for ever since college.
Yeah.
And like you said, you go back and listen to some of the first few songs you write, and you're just like, what was I thinking? Like, you thought it was good at the time. But like, do y'all like...
I still do that, man.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's crazy how much your opinion changes.
Oh, yeah.
But do you guys like tend to co-write together, or do y'all solo write, or how does that kind of work with Jack the Radio?
I think it varies. I mean, sometimes I'll write like a complete song and bring it to the band, and we'll hash out all the parts. Sometimes it's just a piece of an idea, and we'll hash that out even more together. And then sometimes I'll write stuff to your point you just made, and that night I'm like, this is the greatest song I've ever written.
Right.
And then the next morning I listen to it, I'm like, I'm not showing this to anybody.
Or George will send stuff out. Like that's pretty consistently. We'll get home demos or voice memos. And
I'm notorious for voice memos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then my friends.
It's the greatest part of the iPhone.
It really is.
It's where I don't envy him at all on that is sending it out and then the speed of the responses back.
Oh gosh, yeah. I relate to that.
Because I do know sometimes like it'll be one where we'll all listen to it and then immediately be like, yes,
it's
all
awesome.
of this. And then sometimes you're like, I'll respond to that one tomorrow.
Yeah. The anticipation on the other end of that is not fun because I know that like a lot of times when I write, like an idea hits me for some reason at 2 in the morning. It never does at 2 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah.
And I'll write it, I'll record it, and I'll send it to a couple of my friends, and it's like just waiting to see how they're going to respond.
You're like they're probably busy, right?
They're busy.
They're rocking out to it so hard right now.
It's on repeat because they can't stop listening to it.
They're showing it to their wives and family.
Exactly.
You know that new sound you've been looking for? Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Oh man.
It's your cousin Marvin Berry. But yeah, so one thing that I noticed that you guys have kind of had some success having like some of your songs played on some television shows.
Been very fortunate.
How did that come about?
I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it. The way we've gone is we work through Reverb Nation and agency out of California called APM.
Right.
And APM is basically a ginormous database of all kinds of music.
Right.
You know, everything from metal to percussive music to art music.
Right.
And I think we've just been lucky. I mean, I don't know how that world works inside and out. I know there's music supervisors that work on shows and films, and I think they kind of find things, and I may be imagining this, but I think we've had a couple of those music supervisors that found our music, and they work on different shows.
Oh, yeah.
You're not imagining that.
Yeah.
No, I think that once they, I think some of those music supervisors, once they find, a name, then they know, like, oh, we're looking for something swampy, so let's search that band that we found before.
And cheap.
Yeah. Well, we're affordable.
Yeah, we are affordable.
Anthony Bourdain, on his show, his music supervisor used, that was our first big placement. It was for no reservations. And then we showed up on a couple more of his shows. I was just watching, for the first time, I'm digging into the series Mind of a Chef.
Oh, yeah.
And on the very first season, it was produced by Anthony Bourdain.
Right.
So I'm assuming it's the same music supervisor, and I'm watching his, just happened to be watching a couple episodes in, and I heard Jack the Radio song.
That's awesome.
During a part.
Oh, yeah.
Videoed it, sent it to the guys. But yeah, I'm sure it's the same music supervisor. So.
I know one show that has been killing it with the soundtrack lately. I don't know if you guys watch Yellowstone. Kevin Costner's new show. It's a Paramount picture show. It's about like a family on a ranch in like Montana or something like that.
Oh,
but they've had a lot of like really independent artists. Like Ryan Bingham actually is
awesome.
has a part in the show.
Oh,
so
cool.
so it probably has some type of influence there. But yes.
I mean, I think it. Like 10, 15 years ago, that turned into, of all shows, Grey's Anatomy. Like, Grey's Anatomy was one of the first ones that started producing success for independent musicians.
Right.
And Dawson's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that was filmed down in Wilmington, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I remember is Tegan and Sarah not being a thing, and then being a Dawson's Creek, or being on Grey's Anatomy, and then blowing up. And,
that's awesome. So, like, for both of you, like, who were some of the biggest musical influences on you that kind of led for you to get to the artist that you are now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it keeps changing. When I first started out, I was getting like Guitar Player Magazine, Guitar World, all those things, and it was classic rock. It was Hendrix, Zeppelin, a lot of blues guys, B.B. King. And I still love all that stuff and still listen to it, but it kind of transformed over time to more indie rock stuff.
Right.
Even stuff like the Beastie Boys. And I think as I get older, I steer more to the country stuff, the more songwriter stuff. Because I think when I was young, I didn't really listen to lyrics.
Right.
I listened to melody. I listened to guitar parts and even, recent years I was like that, but in the past few years I've been focusing a lot more on storytelling, the songwriting, and I would thank people like Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell and all that stuff, which I think has come to more of the forefront in recent years as well, which is exciting.
For sure.
For me, I grew up, I was kind of the flipped version of George. I grew up on singer-songwriter stuff, so Jim Croce, Gordon Lightfoot, Jackson Brown, things like and spent a lot of time listening to people finger-pick acoustic guitars. And then heard the Beatles. And heard Fuzz on Sgt. Pepper's, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna plug this thing in. Still, I've started going back to a lot of the old '70s Laurel Canyon stuff.
But I kind of had a similar trajectory to you. I I was one of those weird kids that growing up, I listened to a lot of traditional country.
Yeah.
And then it's like, as I got older, I still love traditional country, but I've drifted a little bit more rock and roll as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of had the opposite of how it happens for people.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I grew up in Concord, North Carolina, so
Right.
we were listening to George Strait,
Oh,
the
for sure.
Judds, and
Alan Jackson,
Garth, all that stuff.
Dwight Yoakam.
I just saw that Sammy Kershaw just followed BJ
Yeah, I
on
saw that.
Twitter. That was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah, so I guess one thing I did want to ask you, because I noticed that I saw that you were drawn into a Marvel comic. Like that, that's kind of cool. Like how did that happen?
I mean, you know, I do design work during the day as my day job, in addition to the music stuff. So I love art. I love comic books, and one of my favorite things is there are comic book conventions.
Right.
I wish they had this for music.
Right.
But there's one in particular in Charlotte that I've been going to since I was a kid. There was a big gap in the middle there, but started going again with some buddies, and that's one of those conventions that's very focused on the artists and the writers in the industry, and it's one of those conventions where you can actually rub elbows and talk to those people.
Right.
And the cool thing is, some of them are local, and some of them are all of them are into music, but some of them are very into music, which has been awesome. So I've been able to become friends with a lot of the artists down there. But yeah, just over the years, I've had some opportunities through different ways to get drawn into comic books, which is like obviously a lifelong dream for any fan, I would think. But
Oh yeah. Are you more of a Marvel or a DC guy?
definitely Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
I mean, I love DC. It's been very hard to love DC in recent years.
Yeah.
I feel like Marvel, both have their issues, but I feel like Marvel focuses a little more on their art.
Right.
And has some really great artists doing great things, and great writers too.
Oh, for sure.
And DC's got some too, but
Yeah. I feel like Marvel's done a better job of making, I guess when it comes to like the MCU, making better movies to where the mainstream actually pays attention to it.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas DC just hasn't quite like lived up to that on their end.
Yeah.
Save a few movies here and there.
And
but-
Danny's a comic fan too.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah,
Marvel
yeah.
or DC for you?
I grew up with DC.
DC?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just listening to George guarantee he would never get drawn into a DC book.
Oh yeah, that's the one publisher actually. Yeah, I haven't been trying to. But see, kids, you can be friends. Marvel and DC.
yeah.
Marvel, DC, NC State, UNC.
There we go. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. One thing I did kind of want to ask, like before we kind of wrap things up, I'm totally ripping this off from Rhett Miller's podcast, but I thought it was a cool question, and I wanted to ask you guys, if you could go back to and tell yourself any advice at age 21, what would it be?
Invest in Bitcoin. No, I don't know.
And then immediately sell it.
Exactly.
Man, that's a good question.
Well, that's totally credit to Rhett Miller. It was not a Lucky D-Berry thing.
That's a good question. Yeah, I would play more types of music. That would be an early one. I think for at least for me, I can't speak for other musicians, but you get into your head like I'm this kind of musician,
Right.
and you turn down opportunities to play with other things because it's not that type of genre or whatever it is. Or I don't play guitar like that, or I don't, and I would say yes more. Like at least to the first time of being offered a chance to play a certain type of music, which I did later. George and I joke about the fact that we've all been in a pop punk band. We've all been in we've all done that, and I'm glad. I've said yes to a lot of different types of music. But I think having gone down that road earlier, it's just a good way to expand your ability to pull something cool out of your instrument or instruments.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And learn. Yeah. I mean, in the same sentiment, in more serious answer, just don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Don't be afraid of rejection. You're going to keep getting rejected, keep failing, even in your 30s. So grow a thick skin in 21. Just go for it.
Sounds good to me, guys. And like I said, I appreciate you guys taking time to come
Thank
on,
you so
man.
much.
I like to try to get as many independent artists on, and like especially people around North Carolina as I can. So
awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
appreciate you.
everybody go and buy, stream their music, go to shows, do what you can. And that wraps up this edition of Country and Cold Cans. I'm Logan. See you next time.